So, since I will not be able to do an October special on the 31st, which is actual Halloween, I have decided to go ahead and film my top 17 favorite horror films as of 2017. Now, I've been a pretty big fan of horror for a long time. Horror is by far one of my favorite genres in film. Though, there have been some pretty crappy horror films that come out in recent years. But today, I'm going to go over my top 17 favorite horror films. Just to clarify, this video is my opinion. If you disagree, it is totally okay. But just don't get mad down in the comments section. I hope you guys will enjoy, and let's get started. Phoenix Secretary Marianne Crane on the lam after stealing $40,000 from her employer in order to run away with her boyfriend, Sam Loomis, is overcome by exhaustion during a heavy rainstorm. Traveling on the back roads to avoid the police, she stops for the night at the ramshackle Bates Motel and meets the polite but highly strung Norman Bates, a young man with an interest in taxidermy and a difficult relationship with his mother. Psycho, possibly one of the most famous horror films in history. Directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, and Janet Leigh as Marianne Crane, and John Gavin as Sam Loomis. Ever since this film being released in 1960, has spawned many theories. Now, it's been stated that this film could be connected to films such as Silence of the Lambs and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but that will be for a different time. The film was rated at 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 8.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Now, I do recommend you see Psycho. It's a very, very famous horror film, and it is truly horrifying. Possibly my favorite scene from this film is the scene where the shower scene happens. If you don't know what the shower scene is, just look it up for yourself. Number 17, Psycho. The apparently comatose Michael Myers is being transferred from one hospital to another, but he wakes up when the ambulance crew talk about his surviving niece, Jamie. After slaughtering his attendants, Myers set out to find his one living relative, who is, fortunately, being cared for by a kind, resourceful foster sister named Rachel. Meanwhile, the ever-cautious Dr. Loomis remains on the killer's path. Based on the characters by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, released in 1988, the fourth Halloween film, in my opinion, really stands out in the Halloween franchise. You see, after Halloween being released, the film was considered a flop, mainly considering it did not have Michael Myers in it. And so, the director of this film knew exactly what to do. He finally brought back Michael and made this film, in my opinion, better than part 3. Unfortunately, this film has a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb, and 29% out of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes, which really shocks me. This film stars Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, Donald Pleasence as Samuel Loomis, Ellie Cornell as Rachel, and George P. Wilbur as Michael Myers. My possible favorite scene from this film is the scene in which a girl is killed by Michael Myers shoving a shotgun into her stomach. Unfortunately, it's one of the more short Halloween films, like most. But it's very underrated, and I recommend you see it. So number 16, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Dutch. A soldier of fortune is hired by the U.S. government to secretly rescue a group of politicians trapped in Guatemala. But when Dutch and his team, which includes weapon experts Blaine and CIA agent George, land in Central America, something is gravely wrong. After finding a string of dead bodies, the crew discovers they are being hunted by a brutal creature with superhuman strength and the ability to disappear into its surroundings. Rated a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes. Predator, released in 1987, has spawned over many sequels. Well, I take that back. Not many sequels. By far, this is the best film in the franchise. My favorite part about this film is when I get to see the Predator's own vision. In my opinion, it's just one of the coolest parts about the film. And also, the part where Arnie says, "Get to the chopper!" Horrible impression, but okay then. But it actually has a kind of a low rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Not even close to where Halloween is rated. Rated a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes and rated a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. By far, it's the best film in the Predator franchise, and I highly recommend you see it. And to those of you who think it shouldn't be on here, I'm sorry. I kind of consider it horror, and I kind of consider it action, so it's on here. Sean is a 30-something loser with a dull, easy existence. When he's not working at the electronics store, he lives with his slovenly best friend, Ed, in a small flat on the outskirts of London. The only unpredictable element in his life is his girlfriend, Liz, who wishes desperately for Sean to grow up and be a man. But when the town is unexpectedly overrun with zombies, Sean must rise to the occasion and protect both Liz and his mother in a wild action horror film, also a comedy. Excuse me. Shaun of the Dead, easily, by far, my favorite zombie film. I don't care what you think. My favorite zombie show is The Walking Dead, but you know what my favorite zombie movie is Shaun of the Dead. It mixes up comedy and action and horror. It's just amazing. Now, I would have picked Zombieland, but I've actually seen Shaun of the Dead a few more times than I've seen Zombieland. Now, don't get me wrong, Zombieland was already a great film, but I just think Shaun of the Dead was just a tiny bit better. My favorite part about this film is actually the ending of the film, which I shall not spoil because I want you guys to see this film. And so, number 14, Shaun of the Dead. The sleepy little town of Woodsboro just woke up screaming. There's a killer in their midst who's seen a few too many scary movies. Suddenly nobody is safe. As the psychopath stalks the victims, taunts them with trivia questions, then rips them to bloody shreds. And it could be anybody. Released in 1996, Scream is by far one of the most underrated horror films I have seen. Now, during this time period, there wasn't that many slasher films that were really that good. And it wasn't until this film came out it made the slasher genre just a little bit more important. Some films released during this time were Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, and I think A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But yeah, by far, my favorite part about this film is the beginning. The beginning where we see Ghostface, that's his name, kill Sydney. Wait, I wasn't Sydney. Dang it, I don't forgot her name. But anyways, the beginning kill is very, very gruesome. And speaking of the Sydney character, Sydney is by far one of my favorite characters in this film. She actually fights back. She's actually a strong woman in this movie. Dear Lord. Well, that was Scream. If you want a good slasher film, good popcorn film, and you love horror, I recommend you watch Scream. But don't watch any of the sequels, except for Scream 4. A creepy mortician attempts to scare teenage drug dealers, Stack, and his friends straight by telling them 4 horrifying stories. One is about a guilt-riddled cop who goes crazy after ignoring his corrupt partner. He also tells of a meek schoolboy with terrifying supernatural powers. Although the young thugs wanted to take their drugs and escape Mr. Sims, he still has 2 more tales to tell. Released in 1995, which was 1 year before Scream was released, Tales from the Hood is one of the lowest rated films on this list. Rated a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes, which makes it higher than Halloween 4, but with only a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb. By far my favorite part about this film is the tale of the boy who, let's just say, home isn't really his safe place. Now, it's by far one of my favorite horror films to come out of the 90s, and I do consider it as good as Scream, and I do recommend you see it. Recently released on Scream Factory. Buy the Blu-ray and watch it. A nerd buys a 1958 Plymouth Fury, which he names Christine. The man develops an unhealthy obsession with the car, to the alarm of his jock friend, Dennis. After a bully, Buddy Repperton defaces Christine, the car restores itself to protect perfect condition. It begins killing off Buddy and his friends, determined to stop the deaths. Dennis and Arnie's girlfriend, Leigh Cabot, decides to destroy Christine. Released in 1983, John Carpenter's Christine is by far one of Carpenter's most underrated films. Yes, The Thing is not on this list. I am sorry. But Christine was already a good film anyways. With a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Christine is by far John Carpenter's most underrated film, in my opinion. By far my favorite part about this film is the scene where Christine decides to go all out and decides to kill all the bullies. It's by far one of my favorite part about the film, and also I love the music in the film. It's just freaking amazing, and you could tell it was the 80s. And with a runtime of 1 hour and 50 minutes, Christine is definitely worth your time. And that's why Christine is number 11 on my list. Adam and Lawrence regain consciousness while chained to pipes at either end of the filthy bathroom, as the 2 men realize they've been trapped by a sadistic serial killer nicknamed Jigsaw. and they must complete his preserved puzzle to live. Flashbacks relate his fates of his previous victims. Meanwhile, Dr. Gordon's wife and young daughter are forced to watch his torture via closed circuit video. Rated a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, but rated a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. Saw is by far a great horror film. Now, something I've noticed, when you Google Saw, it has a rating of NC-17. Now, I own the DVD, and it's not rated NC-17. I'm just telling you that right now. Well, I have the unrated version, so yay. By far my favorite scene in the film is the reverse bear trap. It's by far my second favorite Saw trap, and Saw is my favorite film in the Saw franchise. And also, the theme song to this movie is just freaking creepy. Creeps me out every time I hear it. The Hello Zep. Yeah, that's the name. Starring Leigh Whannell, Tobin Bell, Cary Elwes, and Danny Glover. Saw is number 10 on my list. This sounds like another urban legend. A videotape filled with nightmarish images leads to a phone call foretelling the viewer's death in exactly 7 days. But this was not an urban legend for newspaper reporter Rachel Keller, who is telling a story when 4 teenagers all die mysteriously exactly 1 week after watching just such a tape, allowing her to investigate curiosity to get the better of her. Rachel tracks down the video and watches it. Now she just has 7 days to unravel this mystery. 7 days. Or just a week, if you're grammar like me. Released in 2002, 2 years before Saw was released, The Ring is by far one of the better Japanese horror film remakes. Now, there have been some good remakes, such as The Grudge, but there have been some bad remakes, such as Oldboy, starring Josh Brolin. But, rated PG-13, The Ring is by far one of the creepiest horror films I have ever seen. Rated a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb. The Ring. If you're able to, you may watch. But just because you watch the movie, a girl will not call you and say you have 7 days to live. That's just for the videotape. Just telling you. And that was The Ring. During a hallucination, Kristen Parker has her wrist slashed by a dream-stalking monster that we all love, Freddy Krueger. Her mother, mistaking the wounds for a suicide attempt, sends Kirsten to a psychiatric ward, where she joins a group of similarly troubled teens. One of the doctors there is Nancy Thompson, who had battled Freddy some years before. Nancy senses a potential in Kirsten to rid the world of Freddy Krueger once and for all. With a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.6 out of 10. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, is by far one of the best films in the franchise. My absolute favorite part about this film is the scene where Freddy kills one of the troubled teens by making him jump out of the building, looking like a suicide. It's a very, very fun movie to watch. and it's by far one of the greatest films in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And I highly recommend you see it. And also, listen to the song by Dokken called Dream Warriors. It's pretty good. After failing to kill stubborn survivor Laurie Strode and taking a bullet or 6 from a former psychiatrist, Dr. Sam Loomis, Michael Myers has followed Laurie to the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, where she's been admitted for Myers' attempt on her life. The institution proves to be particularly suited to serial killers. However, as Michael cuts, stabs, and slashes his way through the hospital staff to reach his favorite victim. What's really shocking about the original Halloween 2 is that's rated a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's not good. Really not that good. Released in 1981, this film takes place after the events of the original. I mean, like, right where it ends. Like, seconds after it ends. I mean, good lord. My favorite part about this film is the scene where Michael kills that girl in the hot tub. It was my favorite kill. As I stated earlier, it only had a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is shocking, because the original had like a 90% rating or something. But, is it worth your time? Heck yes it is. And that's why Halloween 2 is at my number 7 spot. When young Reagan starts acting odd, levitating, speaking in tongues, her worried mother seeks medical help, only to hit a dead end. A local priest, however, thinks the girl may be seized by the devil. The priest makes a request to perform an exorcism, and the church sends in an expert to help with the difficult job. Did you know The Exorcist is the 9th highest grossing film of all time in Canada and the US? Did you know that? Directed by William Friedkin and story by William Peter Blatty. One of the most controversial films in history was The Exorcist. The Exorcist is freaking creepy. I'm just saying that now. The Exorcist is by far possibly the scariest film on this list. I'm just saying that right now. Either that or The Ring. Now, I gotta say, this deserves an 86% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it deserves an 8 out of 10 on IMDb. And, by far, my favorite part about this film is the ending, where everything starts to change, and the priest, one of the priests, actually is possessed by the demon and jumps out of a window, dying. It's by far one of the creepiest parts about the film. And also, just look at Reagan's face. That's not a face you ever want to see. I've seen this film more than once, and I kind of regret it, because this film is just that disturbing. But it's disturbing, and it's on here. So yeah, that was The Exorcist. When Oscar, a sensitive, bullied 12-year-old boy living with his mother in a suburban Sweden, meets his new neighbor, mysterious and moody, Eli. They strike up a friendship, initially reserved with each other. Oscar and Eli slowly form a close bond, but it soon becomes apparent that she is no ordinary young girl. Eventually, Eli shares her dark secret with Oscar, revealing a connection to the string of bloody local murders. Released in 2008, Let the Right One In is easily the most underrated film on this list. by far the creepiest film that I've seen in a while. And probably the saddest film on this list. I'm just saying that right now. With a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let the right one in. My favorite vampire film of all time. And I stand by that. Now nothing will change it. Then that's now my favorite vampire film. This film is very upsetting. It's a very upsetting film. I'm just saying that. But I recommend you see it. Heck yes, I do. And that was Let the Right One In. When Sally hears that her grandfather's grave may have been vandalized, she and her paraplegic brother, Franklin, set out with their friends to investigate. After a detour to their family's old farmhouse, they discover a group of crazed, murderous outcasts living next door. As the group is attacked one by one by the chainsaw-wielding Leatherface, who wears a mask of human skin, the survivors must do everything they can to escape. Released in 1974 with an 88% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, to this day, might just be one of the greatest horror films of all time. Its set pieces, imagery, details, and the setting just make it creepy. Also, this film was based on Ed Gein, so yeah, you probably knew the director was probably on crack or something like that. And did you know the film is under the budget of $140,000? That's as much as the original Halloween was made with. By far, my favorite part about this film is the ending. When Leatherface is not able to get to the character of Sally, he does the infamous chainsaw dance, where he plays with a chainsaw, wields it around like a maniac, and that's the end of the film. As I stated earlier, this was based on the actual real-life serial killer, Ed Gein. Now, there might be some resemblances to him because of the skin and everything, but, the resemblance is, But, my number 4 is the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Jack Torrance becomes a winter caretaker at the isolated Overlook Hotel in Colorado, hoping to cure his writer's block. He settles along with his wife, Wendy, and his son, Danny, who is played by a psychic premonition things. That's all I can describe it. As Jack's writing goes nowhere and Daddy's visions become more disturbing, Jack discovers the hotel's dark secrets and begins to unravel into a homicidal maniac bent on touring and terrorizing his family. Directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on the Stephen King novel The Shining, or as I like to call it, the Stephen King film where the book is really not as good as the movie. The Shining, in my opinion, was better than the book, mostly because of things they changed. Certain scenes and pieces from the book were actually not used in the film, which I thought was downright genius. And Stephen King has even stated that he actually hates this movie. Yeah, the dude who made the book actually hates the film it's based on, so that should just tell you something, but okay then. By far my favorite part about this film is, here's Johnny, the infamous axe scene, because yeah, if you heard that, I'm sorry, but the infamous axe scene, because just Jesus, it's amazing. And that was not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A struggling painter is possessed by satanic forces, and after he and his family move in to their dream home. initially released on December 15th, 2016 in Russia. The Sean Barn, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Barn, the Sean Barn film, The Devil's Candy. This film is twisted. I gotta say, I freaking love The Devil's Candy, and it is my third horror film on this list. Not third, second, sorry. By far my favorite part about this film is mainly the soundtrack. You have some Metallica in there, you know me, you know I like Metallica, so... And also this film is just, it stands out to me, it really does stand out, and that's mainly one of the reasons why I love this film so much. It stands out along with some other horror films, and if you've seen it, tell me what you thought about it. Now, after all of these horror films, what could possibly be my favorite horror film? Well, number one is... On one cold Halloween night in 1963, 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally murdered his 17-year-old sister, Judith. He was sentenced and locked away for 15 years. But on October 30th, 1978, while being transferred for a court date, a 21-year-old Michael Myers steals a car and escapes Smith's Grove. He returns to his quiet hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois, where he looks for his next victims. Yep, out of all of the 17 horror films on this list, Halloween is my favorite. Now, Halloween is a horror film that I've grown up with a lot. Halloween is easily my favorite slasher film. Halloween is even my favorite horror film of all time. Nothing will change it. I'm dead serious. Nothing will change it. At least I hope not. Well, let me just go through some of the greatest things about this film. First off, its creepiness. Mainly because this film was directed by John Carpenter, and he would later go on to make horror films such as The Thing. And, crap, what was the other one called? I forgot which one was called. Dang it, I forgot. And he just recently, and before he did Halloween, or during this time, he had films like Assault on Precinct 13 and Escape from New York, which I have not seen those films, so don't hate me. But I have heard that Assault on Precinct 13 was really not that amazing, so I probably don't plan on seeing it, so yeah. One thing I really do like about this film is the score. The score for Halloween is just eerie and creepy, and it's by far my favorite movie theme song of all time. I listen to it a lot. It's freaking creepy as heck, dude. Or dudette, who's watching this. Hey, how you doing? Now, Halloween, yeah, it's my favorite horror film of all time, and I'm not saying that just because it's Halloween time. That would be making it top 10 best horror films and have My Bloody Valentine at number 1 because it was Valentine's Day. No, I'm not going to do that with Halloween, though. Halloween is just that special to me. It's my personal drug. When I really want to see a really good movie, I turn on Halloween. When I want to see a scary film, I turn on Halloween. And when I want to see my boy Michael Myers, I turn on any of the Halloween movies, even Resurrection, and even the remakes. So, to clarify, all these films are equally as good. None of them are better than each other. But Halloween is the best film on this list. But to give you a little rundown, Psycho, Halloween 4, dang it, I forgot, Predator, Shaun of the Dead, Scream, Tales from the Hood, Christine, Saw, The Ring, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Halloween 2, The Exorcist, Let the Right One In, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Shining, The Devil's Candy, and Halloween are all equally as amazing. But it's just Halloween was rated at the #1 spot. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you later.